This film tells the story of a group of people who are trapped in a mysterious place that can make them able to live back to revenge after being killed many times where the devils hide. At the beginning of the film, we showed a woman named Melanie looked scared because she was chased by something terrible. She crawled from the ground trying to find a way out while behind. A masked man seemed to want to kill her. When Mel's success to rise out of the ground, she felt he had managed to escape. But Maskman was waiting to be prepared to kill. Mel asked for better punished with Johnny's sins than being killed and did not want to die and live again. However, Maskman also had to complete the task. 1 year later, a group of people is traveling to a location far from the city through the wilderness. They felt strange because they did not see the house or village during the trip. They are Clover, Max, Megan, Nina, and Abe. It turns out they are looking for a sister from a Clover named Melanie, which we have seen at the beginning of a film that has disappeared for 1 year. They only have the last message from Melanie when communicating video calls in front of the gas station in the middle of the forest before disappearing. In that place, they felt something strange, like being in another world. Megan, who is a psychic, invites to pray together so that they are all protected by God. After that, Clover entered the shop, asking the seller to find information about Mel, who disappeared after recording at this location. The shop owner said that many visitors came, so did not remember too much. Also, Clover was not the only person who asked about someone who disappeared. But after Clover shows photos on the cell phone, he advised Clover to go to an inn named Glory Valley, because some people who disappear were found there. After receiving information, Clover told everything to those who might be Melanie in that place. On the trip to Glory Valley, heavy rain and dark condition occurred, so that it made the streets difficult to see. Finally, they arrived at a very strange location, because the place was not exposed to rain at all and the weather was sunny. This mysterious event was recorded by Abe because this phenomenon never happened before. That might be viral on YouTube. At the same time, they were confused because there were no signals in this place. They immediately entered the house except Clover and Max. While inside, it was seen that there was no one there were also some old objects such as ancient homes. Nina saw an hourglass on the wall, thinking this was very strange, while Abe went around the room and then entered a room finding a missing announcement board, while recording as a video documentation. While outside, Clover heard Melanie's voice calling from the forest, so she immediately looked for the origin of the sound in a very dark condition. Max, who saw that, tried to pursue Clover for fear of something happening. Abe was made even more surprised after learning that the paper about missing people was not one or two, but more and more. Nina found a guest book at the reception desk and joked by writing her name. It was suspected that on the previous page, there were many names including Melanie, who were the last guests before they were. Also, the search board was missing about Mel was also attached there. They gathered to discussing strange things about home, including all the things they found. Clover realized that Mel would have disappeared in this place. So they made a plan to search Melanie to all rooms, while Nina was surprised by the hourglass on a wall that suddenly active. Now the location began to show strange things, because outside the house, they were shocked by someone who brought Abe's car. Feeling if it was something dangerous, they decided to stay in the house. Now Melanie's search plan is continued. Clover, Megan, and Max start to go along all the rooms in this house, while Abe and Nina remain in the main room to stand guard. When they began to go along, they found the basement that looked very dark, with the condition of the room that had just been used with some objects still there. Clover found a phone on a table that was still functioning, but when used to contact 911, she did not get a response. This makes Clover feel surprised, because the phone should work. In the main room, Abe heard something from another room and tried to check, while Nina was on guard behind the window. After a few moments, Nina will look for Abe, because it does not return immediately. However, she's shocked when he saw Maskman killed Abe and shouted hysterically, so that those in the basement were very panicked and confused by the situation in the upper room. When Max peeked, he saw Maskman killed Nina in the upper room. Feeling in danger, quickly asked for Clover and Megan to hide. Maskman has realized their whereabouts, then went to the basement where Max was waiting and now only Clover and Megan are still alive. Maskman walked into the room and found Megan in the wardrobe, then kill her. In that situation, Clover tried to fight quickly to take a knife and stab Maskman. After that, he immediately fled out of the basement to the main room, where she saw Nina and Abe, who had been killed brutally. There was no other way other than going out and going into the forest, trying to find help. Unfortunately, Maskman appeared quickly to give a soft touch from behind. Instantly, the hourglass in the house immediately moved spinning to make everything starts from the beginning again. They all returned to life with memories of death before. Now they began to realize that this was not an ordinary place, while Abe was made very surprised by the pictures of all of them who are now also on the announcement board from people who disappear. Clover thinks if Melanie must experience the same thing as them and is still trapped in this place. So they began to make plans to get out of this house. A few moments later, Megan seemed strange, starting to scream loudly, making the electricity go out. They were very panicked. Because Megan had gone, it turned out that she was in the previous room and said the same thing as Melanie if she just wanted to die without having to live again. Megan was seen possessed by the spirits of everyone who was trapped in this house. Before fainting, she said to prevent something from entering the house. At the same time, from the outside, Mel was asking for help, and when opened, Clover saw a mysterious house that wasn't there before. Suddenly, Clover was thrown as if something was pulled to enter, even though she asked for help, but they could not do anything. Max was worried and would go to save Clover, but he was prevented because it was very dangerous not to know what really happened out there. Max felt that he didn't care about being saved the girl, while the Clover who was at home became scared because there were many mannequins with scary facial expressions. She also saw an old woman wearing an oxygen mask, sitting, watching the American Idol favorite program. Because the event was so cool, Clover did not want to interfere. She tried to leave the place, but the old woman suddenly stood up from the seat and said, if he wanted to survive, Clover had to survive tonight or would be part of them. Then, the old woman forced to give an oxygen mask to make the Clover possessed. Max began to enter the house without realizing something terrible to wait, while Abe and Nina tried to leave there by driving a car. Nina asked to wait for others, but Abe could not stand this situation immediately, went through a very dark forest, and suddenly a large monster had been waiting in the forest. So Abe decided to return, but Maskman immediately killed them both. Returning to Max, who was still looking for Clover, began to enter the house, check several rooms on the second floor where Clover was waiting to kill him. After that, she walked out and was immediately hit by Maskman. Now they all have died, making the hourglass move back, so that all time returns to the beginning again. Now they all do not want to do careless action anymore, decide to stay in the house by blocking all doors. Clover remembered that the old woman previously said, if he wanted to survive, then she had to survive tonight, or would be a part of them. She felt he didn't understand the intention of being part of them. Abe speculated that the purpose of the sentence might be trapped here forever. When they all began to be frustrated, Abe took water from the sink to drink, which aims to calm down. He also distributed the water to them, without realizing something terrible would happen. A few moments later, Abe immediately exploded, then Nina and Megan. Max, who also drinks, even though he feels a little frightened to say that he doesn't want to die anymore, while the hourglass looks will run out soon. Clover, who was still alive and then approached by a man who turned out to be a shop owner, said that Clover was almost successful. After that, the Clover exploded like a balloon, then the hourglass returning to spin to the beginning. Clover began to remember that the man who was previously a killer was a shop owner. She was looking for a file from the man, hoping to get more detailed information, because actually the man was a doctor named Alan Hill who lived in this area. Also, Nina found the newspaper 20 years ago showing news about the tragedy of the sinking of a village to underground due to a mining accident resulting in 1,100 people killed. Now everything becomes clear why there is no settlement when they head to the location. That is proven when Anna opens the door to show that the house is in the mine. Max is looking for other clues and finds a video recording of Dr. Allen, who conducted an experiment to a frustrated man because he was trapped in this place by starting to destroy mentality and also forced to become a cannibal, until it finally turned into a terrible monster named Wendigo. They really are shocked by what they just saw and think whether they will also end up being like that. Suddenly, radio communication received a response from Dr. Allen. He said the way to get out of the house but must be sacrifice at one person. Obviously, this is not possible because no one is willing to die. The only way, by finding Dr. Allen through instructions from a map, because he is the key to all this. Dr. Allen spoke again through radio communication offered to Clover to be able to meet Melanie in the middle of the forest. But this made them debate because maybe it was a trap. Abe said he did not want to die again as before by not joining their plans and choosing to remain at home. Unfortunately, Clover forced to go into the forest without realizing the danger that had been waiting. Nina was annoyed at Abe deciding for kill him on the grounds that Abe would repeat from the beginning if he did not help. So Max and Megan followed the Clover, who had gone alone into the forest. Meanwhile, Nina remained in the house with Abe. In the middle of the forest, Clover turned an iron trap that bites the feet strongly, making the wound and unable to escape. Meanwhile, Nina and Abe had to die because maskmen had appeared Will cocking with a kitchen knife. While looking for a Clover in the middle of the forest, they found a village that had been buried due to a mining disaster 20 years ago. But without them realizing, Wendigo had been waiting. Max and Megan tried to escape from the monster who planned to kill them. Megan sacrificed herself and told Max to look for Clover. After finding Clover, Max immediately tried to help from a trap. Then Melanie, who had turned into a monster, appeared with a terrible condition, and Max immediately put on a funny mask on Melanie's face. They immediately fled from there, while Clover did not believe Mel had become Wendigo. They ran without direction and found a mines in the middle of the forest to be used as a hiding place. Clover begged Max for kill her and started everything from the beginning, because when the time was finished, Abe, Nina, and Megan would never return. So Max killed Clover without hesitation, even though he knew this was very painful. After the Clover was killed, Max committed suicide by drinking from water that was dripping between the rock gap and out to call Mel. When returning to the beginning, showing them to live again, there was something different because their resurrection this time felt strange. They all argued about how many times they returned to life. But according to Nina, they have returned to live 13 times because she has recorded her name 13 times in the guest book. And is more surprising, it turns out that everyone previously recorded the name in the book only 13 times, which means this is their last resurrection. In the outside area, there were many houses that were previously not there. In addition, they were also surprised because Megan had disappeared. Then, Abe said that if they always record everything every time they get up, it is hoped that the video documentation will remain on the cell phone. When checked, it turned out that the recording was still stored in a cell phone. Abe began to play a few videos, even though they still felt unbelievable if they were alive 13 times, because what they remembered was 4 times. In the last video, they saw Megan, who was still alive, hiding and following Dr. Allen. Now they know why Megan is not at home when he lives again, because she who was previously not dead. From the outside area, many Wendigo is ready to attack them. So they decided to go through the mine hall while Megan went to follow Dr. Allen. The hallway was so dark that might have more monsters there. While in a place, Wendigo began to attack them. Because it was impossible to fight all these creatures, they had to run away from there as quickly as possible. While in a room, they asked Clover to go to find Megan and Dr. Allen, while they would hold and face Wendigo. When entering one of the rooms, Clover was shocked by Melanie, who had become a monster and must fight than a dishes. Then, Melanie forced to kill by sticking into an iron. After that, she continued to find the whereabouts of Megan, while the hourglass was now half remaining. Clover then walked down room after room, hoping to find Megan, even though he had to be hiding to avoid the starving Wendigo. When he arrived at a place, Clover found Megan that was locked up in a room with a monster figure in it. So she must find the key to opening the isolation room. Clover goes to another room, sees a CCTV monitor that oversees all areas. Suddenly, Dr. Allen arrived with a Starbucks coffee order flavor of goat milk, while smiling at the Clover. Dr. Allen explained that the experiment that had been carried out was extraordinary because of all experimental creatures. He was amazed by Clover because it was different from the others. When Dr. Allen spoke like a lecture killer who made a speechless speech, Clover cleverly placed a coffee glass on a drop of water, hoping that he would die, explode like firecracker. When Dr. Allen returned to drink coffee that had been mixed with water then, he immediately exploded according to the expectations of Clover, including me. Without wasting time, she took the key and then went to the isolation room to free Megan, even though Wendigo became more brutal when the prey would run away. After that, they immediately left from there, trying to find a way out. Meanwhile, Max, Abe, and Nina are also trying to find a way out of hell. With the remaining time, they all tried to get out of this terrible place, even though the Wendigo was still trying to catch them. With full struggle and desire to live, finally they all managed to get out of this place through a grave in front of an old building. They are really happy that they cannot expect to get through a terrible night full of monsters and can last until morning. And the film ended with them away from there to look for jumbo pizza with mozzarella cheese topping. Message from this film: never enter people's home without permission like them, or you will be beaten up like a thief and end up in the hospital. I'm Fox, and thanks for watching.